Previously, on Tales of the Vail, Aerin's flat nearly unraveled under the strain of a Vail destabilization surge. Byte's disruption pulse and Archie's grumble growl held the thread just long enough for Aerin to stabilize the anchor point, with salt, timing, and maybe a little sarcasm. But they weren't the only ones watching. Seraphine's wisp recorded more than just echoes. It learned. Still, not all was lost. Byte, clever as ever, buried a false trail in the site's memory logs and extracted a sliver of Seraphine's original code before the wisp vanished. What they now carry may be dangerous, or the key to unraveling her plan. Tonight, they follow a lead embedded in that fragment, into a part of the city no longer on any map. This is Tales of the Vail, Chapter 5, The Archive Below.
City planners call them utility districts. Locals call them ghost tunnels. But the Vail calls them something else entirely. Hidden below the grid, old tech lines, drainage channels, comms ports long since abandoned. Byte's fragment pointed us here, to a junction point beneath the Orlin Bridge. We'd left the relative safety of surface streets behind. Concrete gave way to corroded iron and strange mineral glass veins in the walls that pulsed faintly with unseen energy. Every few feet, ancient conduit ports blinked in mismatched intervals, like forgotten eyes still trying to remember how to see. The smell was dense, metallic damp mixed with the scorched tang of residual energy, and the temperature dropped the deeper we went, like we were descending through a digital underworld where the ghosts of signals past still echoed. Archie moved with quiet urgency, his paws surprisingly light on the damp metal surface. His ears twitched at every echo, every shift in the air, pulling in information points I couldn't perceive. Byte, by contrast, padded along with precise calculation, scanning with each step, his sapphire eyes pulsing a quiet rhythm, guiding us with data only he could interpret. I stayed close behind, watching the interplay of tension and focus between them. Even in the gloom, their roles were clear. Archie the sentinel, Byte the navigator. I was still figuring mine out. A systems architect in a reality that refused to compile.
The encoded pulse has reached a high resonance. We're close, 20 meters ahead, behind service partition 6D. It's been cleverly cloaked from standard detection protocols for decades. You wouldn't find it unless you knew exactly what to look for. A relic embedded in the architecture itself, hidden by intentional signature obfuscation. The concealment here is impressive. Subtle overlays, noise layer camouflage, and a buried harmonic frequency designed to mimic static decay. Seraphine didn't want this found, not by anyone average.
Smells like rust, regret, and bad decisions, just like the old days. And something else, something waiting.
What exactly are we looking for, Byte? Beyond rust and bad decisions, that is.
A mirrored archive node, redundant but partially active. She accessed it. Briefly, but she didn't finish. There's residual code, and perhaps something overlooked. The energy spike we're tracing suggests a recursive data bleed, a loop that shouldn't exist unless something important slipped through. It's like finding a ghost that forgot how to haunt properly, but still lingers, bleeding energy into the walls.
If we're lucky, it's dormant. If we're not, well, let's just hope it's not guarded by another one of Seraphine's pets.
Archie slowed his pace, his body tensing in a way I'd learned to read as warning. His paw pads hovered just above the damp metal, nose twitching, ears sharp, every muscle coiled. What is it, Archie? What are you smelling now?
This feels too familiar. Back before the shattering, I still believed the worst thing you'd face in the tunnels was a busted pipe or a methane leak. But that was before the tunnels under Veltrin sector, before the Order's eastern vault went dark, and a dozen of us were sent in to secure the failsafes. We weren't trained for what we found. The node had been corrupted, not by time or decay, but by something sentient, something waiting. We activated the gate protocol, standard procedure, but it triggered a recursive echo cascade. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a silent archive roared to life, and it wasn't just screaming, it was remembering. Everything, us included. We weren't explorers to it. We were intrusions. Reality buckled, light bent. 4 initiates vanished mid-step, like their code had been deleted. Their screams, they were the last thing I heard before my ears popped, and all I could hear was a constant buzz and hum of what almost sounded like song all around us. The rest of us scrambled, but we were too slow. I dragged Rylos back through a static breach. He didn't survive the shift. His ears, his face, dissolving into static as I pulled. That was the day I stopped calling them relics. I started calling them ghosts with teeth. So yeah, methane would have been kinder.
Archie, you never said any of that before. What happened to Rylos?
Didn't seem like the kind of thing a bright-eyed Veilborn needed, echoing in her head. Especially not that echo. But this place? It's humming that same tune. That same hungry tune.
I glanced at Byte. His usual calm glow flickered, not dimming, but altered, like something in Archie's raw memory pinged an old critical subroutine. His eyes scanned Archie, then me, then the surrounding tunnel, as if cross-referencing data.
Processing irresidual patterns match 71.4% of the incident record Archie described. Anomaly confirmed. That vault was red listed and scrubbed from the grid 6 cycles ago. Its echoes shouldn't exist. And yet this node is resonating in the same harmonic range. That suggests shared architecture. Possibly shared origin. A deliberate design left waiting.
So what are you saying? That this place is another...
Ghost with teeth, yes, but not the same one, which makes it worse. If Seraphine accessed this site, she either found a way to tame it, or she didn't care what it cost. She used this node's aggression as a tool.
I looked back at Archie. Low to the ground and solid. His bowed legs planted firmly, muscles taut, almost as if bracing for impact. The wrinkles on his forehead seemed deeper than usual, pulled into a serious protective frown, and from neck to tail, standing on end, his hackles were raised. I wanted to reach down to pet him, to comfort me. But I knew that those days were long gone. Archie was no pet now. Neither was Byte, as soft and fluffy though he was. Things had changed, and these 2 animals in front of me were something much, much more than furry companions. Something deep in my chest twisted. Not fear exactly, but that creeping pressure of inevitability. Like we'd already been marked by this place, and the echoes were already rewriting our path forward. The stale air suddenly felt thick with unseen threads.
Whatever she left here, she didn't want it found. And if it's anything like before, it'll do more than bite. So we tread light, and we don't touch anything that hums back.
And still, we moved forward. Because that's what you do when the past breathes down your neck. and the only way out is through. We followed the signal deeper, beyond the old maintenance corridors and into a stretch of tunnel that looked untouched. No graffiti, no corrosion, just walls of oddly smooth alloy, etched with a faint spiraling pattern, like someone had carved topographical lines into glass. Byte continued to lead for several more feet, his eyes scanning the air itself and pausing from time to time on specific spots as though it were a console. The deeper we moved, the less the world made sense. Gravity felt just slightly wrong. My boots didn't quite land where I expected. Light bent around corners that didn't exist. Then suddenly we stopped, though to me, there was no visible difference around us. Byte raised his metal paw, and his eyes flickered, soft blue to ultraviolet, the coded light shifting rapidly.
There, behind the sixth striation, the concealment was masterfully done, embedded in the frequency folds. You'd only detect it if you were listening for the Veil's subharmonics, or if you were keyed to Seraphine's encryption pattern, which, thanks to the shard I extracted from that last relic site, we are.
A slight seam appeared in the wall. Air hissed out of the chamber, carrying a faint, metallic scent. That's a door? I thought it was just a weird stretch of wall with the usual cracks from old age.
Architects didn't use blueprints, they used resonance. Archives like this are grown, layered into the Veil's infrastructure, and shielded through mnemonic camouflage. It doesn't just store memory, it is memory, hidden not behind passwords, but perception itself, a living archive.
And the Veil's memory is about as trustworthy as your Aunt Rita after her third glass of port. Selective, prone to dramatics, occasionally overly sassy, and ready to throw a tantrum. Best not to rely on its truthfulness.
Which is why we proceed with precision. Aerin, it's time you activated the sync yourself. Your unique Veilborn frequency will be required.
Wait, me? I thought you were the one with the glowing eyes and pulse magic, and the map, and everything.
You're Veilborn. This archive is encoded to your frequency, at least partially. I could brute force it, yes, but that risks alerting deeper nodes. You, however, can request permission. The interface may respond with less hostility if it recognizes you. Your DNA is the key, Veilborn.
Byte gestured with his paw. A soft ripple disturbed the air, and a pattern of glyphs emerged on the wall, pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat trying to remember its rhythm.
Hold your watch up. Sync its harmonic reader with the pulse glyph here. No tapping, just intent. The Veil reacts to resonance, not aggression. Think of it as a handshake with a very old, very sensitive computer.
Resonance? Right. Be the harmony, not the hacker. Easier said than done when the universe is trying to eat your brain. I raised my wrist slowly. A soft chime emitted from my watch when it got about eye height. The glyphs pulsed brighter, then emitted a subtle chord, like a single piano key struck underwater, echoing with dull resonance. The wall quivered in response, then a thin seam of light sliced through it vertically.
Good. Now step closer. Speak your intent aloud. Just a phrase. Something simple. The archive needs context.
The phrase popped to my mind so easily, even though I'm not normally poetic. We seek what was hidden, not to harm, but to remember. The thin seam of light widened slightly and, it kind of looked like the wall just unzipped itself. The door was wide now, though door didn't quite do it justice. It wasn't made of metal or stone and not mechanical exactly, more like shifting composite plates. A living, ancient interface? Patterns flickered across it like soft lightning trapped beneath skin. The air that escaped was as cold and sharp as the wind off the glaciers from when I once visited Alaska. Looking through the door, I could see a passageway ahead. Not a long hallway or corridor, but a long, vast, rectangular chamber. Breathing Vail light stretched out ahead of us, fading into a shimmering, unreadable distance. Archie took a slow step forward, sniffing the air, then glanced back. His monocle glinting with a faint red warning light I'd never before seen.
Well, that's unsettling. Looks like the last archive that nearly ate me. Maybe a little sleeker on the edges, but still has that same hungry gleam. This one feels awake.
Or listening.
That actually should have taken a bit longer to sink. I don't like archives that open too easily. Means they've been waiting.
Great. Well, here goes nothing. We stepped forward together. Crossing that threshold felt like falling upward. My stomach flipped, and every hair on my body lifted, tingling with raw energy. The veil wasn't resisting us, but it wasn't welcoming us either. Whatever waited on the other side wasn't just ancient. It was aware. And it was expecting us. It was a vault, but not like what I'd expected to see. Not the kind made for hoarding gold or locking up secrets behind steel bars. This one didn't store currency. It stored continuity, memory, identity, history encoded in quantum filaments and bound by spells so old they'd fossilized into the framework. The walls weren't made of stone or concrete. They were layered strata of crystalline data weave, veined with luminous threads that pulsed faintly in shifting colors, like some kind of neural architecture fossilized mid-thought. Lines of runic code moved slowly along the surfaces, not carved, but projected, refracted through glass-like surfaces that responded to our presence. Every breath seemed to trigger a subtle ripple, like the vault was breathing us in. The floor was slick with dust, not ordinary dust, but a powdery layer of degraded nanofilament. It glimmered faintly in the low light, like someone had spilled the ashes of dead stars. Beneath that dust, metal plates shaped like overlapping tessellations curved in fractal spirals, each engraved with etchings too fine to read with the eye. You didn't walk on this floor. You trespassed on the very scaffolding of thought. Overhead, filaments dangled like translucent cables, suspended data spindles, dozens of them, rotating imperceptibly on their own axis. They cast long, web-like shadows across the chamber, bending light in ways that made the walls appear further away than they really were. Some of the spindles hummed gently. Others remained utterly still, perhaps empty, perhaps dreaming. Along the perimeter were what might once have been terminals, hunched constructs of alloy and obsidian, now fused into silence. Some looked melted by time, others frozen mid-function. And above it all, woven like a constellation into the ceiling, was a vault seal, a geometric mandala of code and sigil, rotating slowly, as though tracking our very presence with indifference. The air was still, but not dead. It carried the metallic bite of recent energy use, like someone had run a current through long dormant veins. It tingled against my skin, and somewhere deep in the chamber, there was a hum, not from machinery, but from the veil itself. No, this was not just a vault. It was a mind, one that had seen too much, forgotten too little, and was beginning to remember even more. The moment we crossed the threshold, a chill curled around my spine, not the kind born of fear, but recognition. The kind that tells you you've entered a place that remembers everything, including you. Just as Archie had said, and I knew. The moment we stepped inside, the Vail, it noticed.
This is a core node, a foundational nexus designed with recursive data layering in mind. Each level contains not just information, but echoes of different timelines interwoven through intentional overlap. The encoding here isn't purely logical either. It carries emotional resonance, impressions tied to specific moments, thoughts, even decisions. It's ancient, woven into the early architecture of the Vail. But the layers have begun to decay, and the stability is deteriorating with each passing cycle.
Of course it is, because clearly we haven't had enough instability for 1 week. Nothing says stable like a self-aware quantum filing cabinet.
Do we know what Seraphine did here? Beyond, of course, making it even more of a headache to navigate.
From what I can tell, she attempted to overwrite core identity threads. Foundational code tied to memory formation, personality shaping, recursive influence patterns, a profound alteration of self-state.
She was editing who people were, manipulating their very sense of self. That's beyond a violation. That's a digital lobotomy.
Nothing says trust me like a rogue psychic rewriting your soul settings. But on a serious note, Byte's readings are correct. That's exactly what Seraphine was doing. And that's not just dangerous. That's Veilcraft on the edge of madness. You alter memory roots, you fracture people from the inside out, lose your place in the weave, and the world forgets you ever fit into it.
He moved with a deliberate pace now, head low, hackles slightly raised, not from fear, but reverence. Archie didn't fear places like this. He remembered them and was obviously on high alert. Byte stepped ahead again, his eyes again scanning the invisible console in the air around us, his tail twitching in geometric patterns, almost as if plucking invisible threads, drawing a map in the air no one else could see.
Interesting. That node strand is more than just a projection. It's anchored to a physical spindle embedded at the base of the central weave. I can extract it.
Byte reached into the coil of data threads and, with a soft click, dislodged a spindle, small, glass-like, no bigger than a pocket compass. Its center pulsed once as it registered the contact, and then went still in his paw. He then shifted his body a bit, and the spindle attached the end to his collar like an extra-long name tag. A quick, glittering glow, then alignment with the same pulse of Byte's own internal glyphs.
This archive is semi-responsive. I can detect 3 main strata of encoded memory: upper, observational; mid-tier, decision logic; lower, self-state manipulation. That's where Seraphine focused. But she didn't completely overwrite. There are remnants, ghost nodes, places where the data folds in on itself, like scars on the Vail.
As Byte described things, the air seemed to ripple in layers. Vertical bands of temperature shift, like walking through heat shimmer underwater. One level carried a smell of lilac and burnt plastic. Another pulsed with soft static against my skin, almost like a whisper brushing past my cheek. Can we access it safely?
Access, possibly. Interpret, riskier. The moment we interact, the node may attempt to rewrite context, reframe who you are to match stored templates. Especially if those templates were influenced by Seraphine's alterations. Seraphine's style was to program things to integrate you.
So we could come out thinking we're childhood besties with our enemies, or worse, fans of pineapple on pizza. Lovely.
I giggled, but then caught my breath. The console Byte had been seeing suddenly decided to start coalescing for me as well. I stepped toward one of the lower set of strands, a glowing helix of suspended code, It shimmered with a rhythm, like a pulse, not quite alive, but not entirely inert. My fingers hovered just above it, and for a second, I heard something. A lullaby. One I hadn't heard since I was 5. My mother's voice, fractured, distorted, echoing in static. That's not possible. The memories, they're mine.
The ones you love always leave a trace, Aerin. Or maybe this place just has a really aggressive nostalgia setting.
Don't touch it yet, not until we've set things on safe mode. It's syncing with you, learning. Archives like this read as much as they store. If you imprint too fast, it might adapt its access point. Or worse, create a recursive anchor to your memories.
In other words, we don't want Aerin trapped in her own mind, playing memories like a mixtape on loop for eternity. It gets rather repetitive, trust me.
I stepped back, slowly though. Something about those strands made me extremely hesitant to let go. The thread dimmed a bit, but the lullaby didn't leave me. It lingered like a scent. Then the voice and words started to change, ever so slightly. A haunting. This place wasn't just built to store history. It wove it, bent it, maybe even erased it. I tried shaking my head. Shadows bent the wrong way, like they weren't cast by light and solid figures, but by data and thought processes. And someone, had begun to notice. The hum of the vault deepened, like multiple ancient servers cranking to life, waking from sedation all at once. From the far shadows, a figure, vaguely human in shape, robotic in manner and being, began to form, not walking, not quite crawling, dragging itself forward in stuttering fits, its frame a fusion of armor and artifact. Where a face should be, fractured panels twisted in on themselves, glitching between sigils and binary. One of its arms sparked violently. The blade, once ceremonial, now cracked and twitching with feedback.
We're not alone.
Guardian Protocol. Identity indistinct, memory core fragmented, but subsystems still online. Defensive perimeter has been activated. Threat level, high.
Can we reason with it? Does it have a diagnostic port? Maybe a password?
If by reason you mean run, then yes. Very reasonable. I'm thinking we bypass the pleasantries.
I took a step forward anyway, my smartwatch displaying rapid frequency analyses, trying to pinpoint a weakness, a vulnerability in this thing's programming. Wait, I'm seeing a basic code-based protocol. I could try to send a command? A ceasefire request, maybe?
No, it's too degraded. A standard ping would only alert it further. Its aggression loop is prioritized. It will respond with force. Step back. I will attempt a legacy ping using encoded architect keys. If any portion of its origin script remains intact, it may recognize my signal.
Byte emitted a sharp, pulsing tone. Layered frequencies harmonizing around the vault, followed by a subtle chime, like a lock trying to remember its shape. Then, silence. A beat. But then, we were knocked back. I hit the ground hard. Archie let out one of those growls that I could feel in my bones, and I saw Byte flicker briefly, his form almost pixelating.
Never mind. That's a no.
Scrambling back up, I shook my head to clear it before asking, "Damn, that hurt. What the hell was that?"
A corrupted Echo Guardian's preservation response, originally designed to store and restore memory strata integrity. But this one has degraded. It's looping, recursive, and infected with null instructions. It no longer protects, it consumes. It's trying to absorb our very presence. Think of it like the Guardian simply sees us as additional code, and is overwriting our data into the codebase to normalize this node.
The Guardian began to phase glitch forward, each step distorting nearby light. It didn't move like something alive. It moved like a glitch given shape, a shadow stitched from leftover code and forgotten rage. One moment it blurred like static. The next, it was too close to us for comfort.
All right. I've had enough polite conversation. We need to distract this thing. It's a blunt instrument. We need to use precision to counteract it.
We can disengage its tracking sync. There's a subharmonic buried in its vocal layer. If I can isolate it, I can loop the signal, confuse its proximity logic, but I'll need a clear path.
Okay, how do we do that? What do I do?
You need to get close. Its direct proximity sensors are strongest. You'll be the lure.
Of course we do. Why would anything ever be simple? Just lure the monster. Easy peasy. The chamber bent again, gravity thinning, air growing tight. Lights surged bright, then dimmed. I didn't wait for a better idea. With every step, the lullaby still hummed beneath my ribs, like the vault was watching what I chose to do next.
Byte, you loop the subharmonic. Aerin, on me. We split its focus. Fast and loud. We'll draw its fire.
Define fast, Archie.
Fast enough, it doesn't get a lock. And loud enough, it notices you. Not Byte. Now.
I require 10 seconds of uninterrupted focus. After that, I can destabilize its sensory input for at least one cycle. Ready?
Archie darted left, claws skimming sparks off the tessellated floor as he bounded onto a low platform, drawing the Guardian's attention. His growl turned guttural, rhythmic, pulsed, almost like it was syncing with the Guardian's glitches, a defiant counterfrequency.
Come on, you corrupted tin cryptid. Over here. You want a piece of old Archie? Then come and get it.
Right, playing bait. Totally why I went to school for computer science. The Guardian lunged, shifting first toward Archie, then toward me, phasing erratically, caught between targets. Light around it distorted again, that same warped ripple as if the room bent to its will. I ducked behind a console frame opposite from Archie. Something metal struck the wall a bit down from me. Debris flew close to my cheek. I felt the heat off the impact even though the main hit was meters away.
Subharmonic, isolated, building disruption pulse loop.
Byte. Now would be a great time to confuse this oversized arcane paper shredder.
Almost there. Ready. Stand by for frequency inversion.
The Guardian convulsed, like it hit an invisible wall made of thought, its limbs stuttering mid-motion, its blade arm shuddered and phased in and out of visibility. Then silence, but not peace, more like tension waiting to snap.
Don't trust the stillness. It's just rerouting.
Confirmed. Adaptive pattern detected. We bought seconds, not a shutdown. Its core identity is resisting the full override.
Then let's use them. Byte, is there another way to override? A full shutdown code?
Yes, but it'd have to be hard-coded, keyed to high-level architect DNA.
Then we improvise. I crouched near the crumpled Guardian and raised my smartwatch. I didn't fully know what I was doing, just that I had to try. Something in that lullaby from earlier was still humming under my skin. Or maybe it was this vault, nudging me forward, like it remembered me, or wanted to. My tech empath sense flared, connecting directly to the Guardian's fractured programming. I could feel its rage, its confusion, the broken loops of its directives. I toggled past normal permissions, then deeper, into Vail integrated overlays. No UI, no guidance, just instinct. I reached for the Guardian's signal signature, fingers flying across my watch's projected virtual interface. Somewhere inside, it flashed across my mind that I wasn't sure if I was actually overriding the Guardian or convincing it I belonged, that I was the new architect. But then, as I triggered the final code line, something finally clicked fully into place, and a dome of shimmering, shifting, hexagonal light slammed down around the Guardian, locking it in stasis. I fell back on my heels with a sigh of relief, feeling both stunned at about what we'd just gone through and somewhat exhilarated about what I'd just done.
You just hacked its source bindings? A full architect-level lockdown?
Yeah, well, turns out some code likes me better than it should. Or maybe it just runs in the family like you guys keep saying.
That's either a miracle, a bug, or a very dangerous clue, Veilborn. Perhaps all three.
The Guardian stilled inside the shimmering cage, its form twitching but frozen in the crumpled position. Byte exhaled a little static, his glow bright and pulsing. Archie didn't relax, and I wasn't entirely sure what all I'd just done. Only that it worked. For now. For a moment, everything was still. The Guardian flickered behind the containment field, frozen in place, caught mid-snarl. A few data spindles resumed their slow, ghost-like spin above and around us, mid-air. Byte paced slowly around the Guardian, scanning its containment. Archie was a statue. He just stared. Not at the Guardian. At me.
That was a containment field keyed to deep Vail strata. How the hell did you activate that, Aerin? That's ancient knowledge.
I don't know. I just saw the signal paths, like they were already mapped in my head. Like the vault wanted me to do it. It felt right.
The field is active, but unstable. The code wasn't built for full compliance. You triggered a legacy function, not a true shutdown. It won't hold. Its internal aggression protocols are already attempting to reroute.
Byte's words were barely out when lights began to fracture across the containment field, one shard at a time. My stomach dropped. Whatever I'd done had bought us seconds, not safety. One of the Guardian's limbs twitched violently. The field around it flickered, warped, and it let out a scarily satisfied sounding crackle, like a predator tasting freedom.
It's rebooting. Aggression protocol reinitializing. Target prioritization. Shifting. Moving to override.
Move!
Debris of energy flew through the air like actual shrapnel as the stasis field shattered. The Guardian surged forward, straight at us. Its broken blade arm arcing in a downward slash. Archie and I scattered, but Byte didn't dodge. Instead, he launched a burst of interference, trying to destabilize the Guardian's targeting again. Byte! He crumpled. His glow collapsed inward, visibly glitching. Static rippled across his form like crushed pixels. I ran to him, ignoring the Guardian. Archie stood between us and the Guardian, shoulders squared, teeth bared, but I worried even he couldn't take that thing head-on much longer.
You had your turn. My turn now.
I saw it then. Under his fur, old markings glowing faintly. Sigils. From the Order. Ones I didn't recognize. His growl harmonized with the hum of the vault, syncing with its bones, becoming a living lock.
Viridian lock. Binding weave. Echo thread seal. Mark of the last watch.
What did you...
Order lockdown. Emergency override. Keyed to Guardian Class 4 and above. Wasn't sure it'd still work. Guess I still count for something, even in my retirement.
The vault trembled, not with threat, but finality. I looked from the frozen guardian to Archie, panting and trembling. The guardian's corrupted shell dimmed, its aggression silenced. Deafening. The vault now filled only by my own ragged breath and Archie's gruff snuffles. The battle was over. But the cost. Byte? I lifted him gently, cradling what remained of his glowing form in my arms. His light was dim, but still there, like a lantern nearly out of oil.
Your improvisation was statistically reckless, but effective. I apologize for the necessary sacrifice.
Yeah, it worked, but only for a little while. And you, little one, you saved us. Don't you dare apologize.
It definitely worked, but let's agree. No more improvising in cursed memory vaults without backup plans, and certainly no more taking hits for the team, Byte. We need you intact.
I nodded, relieved tears falling down my cheeks. I brushed a non-existent piece of dust from Byte's head to give myself an excuse for a reassuring pet of this sweet, yet oddly strong and powerful little fluffball, and sighed with relief and gratitude. At the same time, I knew something had shifted, in me and in our little group. We were more than just a tech expert, a retired spy, and a fluffy little tech kitten. We were a team, a very strange, and at that moment, very bruised team. But the connections and powers of the three of us together were growing. I took a deep breath, then got back to my feet and joined Archie. Let's get back home. We didn't run, just walked, slowly, steadily, as if moving too fast would crack the silence open and let the nightmare spill out again. But too slowly would allow the past to catch back up. The guardian was behind us, locked in place, but my legs didn't quite believe that yet. Byte's frame shimmered faintly in the gloom, his shoulder port sparking weakly every few steps I took. The spindle he'd salvaged still securely attached to his collar. None of us spoke until we were nearly back to the flat, but a few blocks away, Archie broke the silence.
You stayed standing long enough.
More than long enough. He looked up at us, optics dimmed, posture twitching to compensate for corrupted subroutines. But still Byte, still fighting, still brilliant.
Guardian interference sequence neutralized. Partial data acquisition successful. The spindle, it holds another map fragment, but also a message.
The spindle pulsed once, etched across its glowing surface, a timestamp from long ago, a name I didn't recognize, Valerius, and coordinates written in a code so old, even Byte had to blink twice to process it. It was a digital echo, a ghost of data refusing to stay buried. Whatever Seraphine had tried to erase, Byte had taken a piece of it back, hidden in plain sight, wrapped in memory and nearly lost in the vault's hunger. And maybe, just maybe, we were finally ahead of the game.
She's gonna know we found something she meant to bury. You don't pull up teeth like that without the jaw noticing.
Then we better decide what to do with it, before she comes looking, and before the Vail wants another snack.
Ah, fascinating. They pulled the thread. She doesn't know yet, not fully. But there's something delicious about watching the watcher miscalculate. Especially when the memory that wasn't supposed to survive decides it wants to be found.
Valerius's spindle, a foolish loose end. The girl learns too quickly. My little fractaled fang, you choose poorly.
That was intense. We got out. We survived. But the cost was real. Byte's hurt. Archie's. More himself than I've ever seen him. And I just used ancient magic to fight a glitch monster. We found what Seraphine tried to bury, yes. But I'm starting to think the Vail doesn't just store memories. It demands them. And now, we're carrying one that might just change everything.
Right then, another day, another brush with existential obliteration. Until our next venture, remember that some doors are meant to stay closed. And if you find a living archive, for heaven's sake, don't let it touch your fondest memories. One wouldn't want to explain pineapple on pizza to one's ancestors. New chapters of Tales of the Vail drop every week. Do subscribe, won't you? Wouldn't want you to miss out on the next glorious disaster. Besides, it helps cover the biscuit budget, and Byte will need extra quantum tuna for repairs. One endures, you see, even when one's circuits are a bit frayed.